What's up, y'all? I'm tight. I thought I scheduled it while I was out driving. I guess it didn't schedule, but such is life. Stuff happens. So I'm gonna share this out to folks, and hopefully y'all come through. I did have it up there. Let me see. How do I share this now? Hold on. I'll be right back. That's crazy. I scheduled it and everything. Go to my channel. All right. I don't know what happened. What's up, Kay? My fault. It got messed up somehow. So. Let me get my setup back right. I was just sharing it out. I had it scheduled, but for some odd reason when I went to StreamYard it wasn't there. So salute folks, it's your boy, the insurance junkie, your fiduciary fella, the all-star advisor Alonzo Hall, your social media insurance bro. Back again today to weapon tap on your head with another ADH Wealth Solution article. Today we're reading another article from Financial Advisor magazine by tax CPA and tax strategist Ed Slott, and it's entitled High Earners Should Halt Pre-Tax 401k and IRA Contributions by tax advisor Ed Slott. We need to stop thinking about minimums when it comes to retirement plan distributions. Before I continue, make sure to hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're made aware every time I release new content. And as always, share, share, share. Lastly, to contribute to channel growth or to schedule an appointment with a licensed financial professional, the links are in the description of this video. So as we proceed to give you what you need, it says it's been a while since I've seen a car video. I know it has been a minute. I don't really do car videos like that. I don't know why. I should have been doing them more often. They're actually very convenient. So let's get into this article. And as you know, I will stop intermittently to give my own thoughts on it. Sometimes now, most of the time when I read you guys' articles, it's often my first time reading the article. I get these, I skim through them, but I don't always read all of the articles. But what a better way to educate both you, the clientele, and myself, the advisor, than to read these cutting edge articles from cutting edge publications in my industry to stay with my thumb on the pulse of the industry. So you know when you and your family become my client, you're in someone capable's hands. Taxpayers with the largest IRAs and their beneficiaries will be in higher tax brackets in the future, meaning that as their tax-deferred traditional IRAs continue to grow, so will the tax bill that eventually comes due. Doing nothing and allowing those amounts grow without tackling this problem is a bad plan. The big changes wrought by the Secure Act, specifically the 10-year rule affecting the rate which people will have to unwind retirement assets in the future, should serve as a giant wake-up call and a reminder that they have been doing long-term thinking all along. So what they're talking about there is the 10-year rule is when you inherit things like an IRA, you have 10 years to distribute that so that you don't face a tax penalty, right? Because it's basically a tax deferral for someone else, so you can't get it tax free. So if you take it tax free, to take it tax free, you have to disperse it within 10 years. And you don't want to take it out in a chunk, because if you take it out in a chunk, you have to pay taxes. So, reversing course. The upshot is that advisors and their clients are going to have to make dramatic changes in their planning and embrace the idea that people with high incomes or ample assets, as well as those likely to be there in the future, should stop contributing to pre-tax 401ks and IRAs. What's behind this reversal in traditional thinking about retirement tax planning? For starters, there's the realization that tax deductions offered by such accounts are merely loans from the government that will have to be paid back at the worst possible time, in retirement. Worse yet, the payback may come from the account's beneficiaries who in their peak earnings years, who are in their peak earnings years, and thus peak tax bracket years, could have to pay on the taxable retirement money they've inherited from their parents. So like I said, when you inherit the money, you might have to end up paying taxes on it in certain circumstances. It's not like you can just be like, oh, so and so gave me a retirement account. I'm gonna take this retirement account and just add it to mine. Oh, no, no, no. You can do that, but you got to liquidate it and pay taxes on it, and then you can go from there. Yes, to grind and Fridays. So, um, though these inheritance issues have always existed, the original Secure Act in 2019 managed to further change the game, forcing beneficiaries to take all the inherited retirement account money in 10 years. So, like I said, now they force you to withdraw all of the money within 10 years to remain within a certain tax bracket, because you don't want to take a lump sum, because if you take a lump sum and you're in your highest tax bracket, they're going to take a whole bunch of that from you. But you can't take too much and you can't take too little. Because if you take too little and it takes 10 years in a day, that's more than 10 years, they're going to make sure that you pay taxes on all that money. If you take it out in 9 years, that's maybe a possibility. So, where were we? Da, 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 da. So, though these inheritance issues have always existed, the original Secure Act in 2019 managed to further change the game, forcing beneficiaries to take all the inherited retirement account money in 10 years. Previously, they could stretch the distributions over their entire lives, allowing the power of compounding to work its magic and potentially building up enormous balances over multiple decades. But under the Secure Act and the regulations that followed, most non-spouse beneficiaries of retirement accounts must take total distributions in a decade. That 10-year rule shortens the window for complete depletion of all retirement funds. The shorter the window, the larger the required withdrawals, and the higher the resulting tax bracket. So either way, it's going to push your tax bracket up. Preferred path. In the past, we've used a minimum mentality and let required minimum distributions, or RMDs, drive our tax planning instead. Or let RMDs drive our tax planning. Instead, we need to think about maximum and how much can be withdrawn now and in the near future at relatively modest tax rates. It's tax planning that should be driving our retirement account distributions. Even though the RMD has been raised to age 73, doing nothing until age 73 is a mistake. That may result in more wealth generating inside traditional IRAs, which must be distributed by account owners and beneficiaries. Those distributions probably will be highly taxed, especially for people with large IRAs. So, the best thing is to not let RMDs drive your tax planning. If we take a maximalist outlook instead, the 10-year rule doesn't matter and it can be ignored. RMD doesn't matter, so ignore them. Or RMDs don't matter, so ignore them. Let's think instead about unrequired distributions and start trimming our IRA and other retirement account balances now in order to use today's historically low tax rate. That lets clients take full advantage of the current 12%, 22%, and 24% tax brackets while they are available. What's more, recent inflation has raised the income levels for these rates in 2024. A 24% tax rate applies in incomes up to $191,950 for single filers, an increase from $182,100 the year before after deductions. After that, a 32% tax rate takes effect. The 2024 amount for the 24% rate is $383,900 for married couples filing jointly. Action plans. This is a moment for savvy tax planning, including taking pre-tax distributions from retirement accounts this year, up to the taxable income amounts mentioned. Assuming the net cash flow is not needed for living expenses, what might be done with the excess funds? Roth IRA conversions. Although there are income limits for those who want to make Roth IRA contributions, there are no limits for those making Roth IRA conversions. The latter generally are more of effect. The latter are generally more effective if non-IRA funds are used to pay the tax. Make sure y'all hit the like, y'all, when y'all come in. Salute, salute. Hit the like, drop a comment, share, share, share. So again, right now what he's saying is you can convert your Roth IRAs, right? Now, a lot of what he's talking about is something that I do with a lot of my clients. I say, hey, listen, take the tax hit right now so in the future you don't get double tax, because in the future you're still going to be paying capital gains tax. Now, they have a rule called FIFO, which is first in, first out. So first you want to take out the principal of the money that you put in. And then let's say that's $1 million. After you run through that $1 million, you're gonna want to. So that's $100,000 for 10 years. So you're retired. Let's say you retire at 50. Everybody says they want to retire at 50 now, right? So you retire at 55, we'll say, right? So from 55 to 65, you took out $1 million. Well, you're still alive at 65, so you still need money, right? So there's other options that are available. So let's see what he's talking about here. So, Roth IRA conversions. Although there are income limits for those who want to make Roth IRA contributions, there are no limits for those making Roth IRA conversions. The latter generally are more effective if non-IRA funds are used to pay the tax. That will mean more money in the Roth account, where qualified distributions are tax-free after 5 years and after the taxpayer has reached age 59 and a half. Moreover, after-tax amounts in a Roth IRA can be withdrawn untaxed at any time. Consequently, taxpayers holding ample Roth IRAs have enormous flexibility in tax planning. For example, since tax-free Roth IRA withdrawals are not taxed as income, they can be used to keep future income down for those who want to avoid steep Medicare premiums. The tax-free treatment of Roth IRA distributions also applies to inherited Roth IRAs. So, beneficiaries will not owe tax on distributions even if general tax rates climb in the future. However, those who inherit traditional IRAs can't convert them into Roth IRAs later. For estate planning purposes, Roth IRA conversions at modest tax rates can make sense for people at any age, passing the opportunity for untaxed distribution to future generations. So next, he's going to talk about life insurance. He says life insurance. Taxpayers age 59 and a half or older may want to use the net proceeds from pre-tax retirement accounts withdrawals to purchase insurance on their own lives, payable to descendants. The tax benefits of life insurance are exceptional. One is that payouts to beneficiaries usually avoid tax, regardless of the recipient's income. In addition, permanent life policies, typically a version of whole life, universal life, or variable life, often include a cash value account. Any investment income within the cash value will avoid tax. The cash value can also be tapped by the policy owner tax-free via prudent withdrawals and policy loans. It's true that premiums for permanent life insurance tend to be much higher than they are for term life coverage. That said, if workers and their spouses are not contributing to pre-tax IRAs and employer plans as recommended here, their after-tax dollars might go into permanent life insurance policies. Now he's going to talk about charitable donations. Charitable donations. Those taxpayers who have already reached age 70 and a half or are older should plan on making their charitable contributions directly from their IRAs via qualified charitable distributions or QCDs. Those donations count as RMDs, but not as taxable income. So they allow IRA owners to reduce their tax deferred balances without paying tax. That way, appreciated assets in taxable accounts can remain there without being donated and eventually passed to heirs with a tax favored step up in basis. Young or old, people with philanthropic intent should cancel all bequests of non retirement assets to charity. Instead, favored shit, I lost my spot. Instead, favored causes can be named as IRA beneficiaries. The money can be removed from the decedent's IRA with no tax for the beneficiary. Yet another tactic to consider is the charitable remainder trust. Remember, I was saying this for things like churches. I remember I was on TikTok talking to a young lady about church. Saving my creator salute. And I was saying, listen, I'm not into church. I'm not religious. So even though that's your thing, it's not mine. However, instead of tithing 10% to the church, why don't Miss Jones do a charitable remainder trust? Because she's giving X amount of dollars per month to the church. She giving $500 a month to the church, right? That's 10% of her income. So she get $5,000 a month. She giving $500 a month, right? And instead of giving 500, give 250 a month to the actual collection plate. That's 5%. And the other 5%, you put $250 a month into a permanent life insurance policy that you leave the church a beneficiary of. That life insurance policy, I promise you, is going to be substantially more than that extra $250 up front. Yes, there is a thing called time value of money. So technically, a dollar right now is worth a dollar in the future. However, when you're massively multiplying the dollar in the future, it's substantially different. And I don't know nobody who ain't been called home. Even Jesus had to escape life through death. Let me turn on this car so this shit don't turn off. Hold on, y'all. So, where were we? The charitable remainder trust. So yet another tactic to consider is to name a charitable remainder trust, or CRT. Says great idea at the 5%. Thank you, Charwillie. The other young lady was fighting against it, and I understand why, because I guess she thought I was trying to divert money, but it's more money to the church. You got to realize the thing that you're buying when you're buying life insurance is more money. You're multiplying your money. The moment you apply for a policy, give at least $1 with the policy. This way, you're immediately covered whether the insurance company says yes or no, until the insurance company says yes or no. So say you sit down right now and you're signing an application. I don't care that you don't have the whole $3,000 for the premium, right? You got to have $1. Put $1 up with as premium. Say I gave $1 in conjunction as good faith for this policy. When you do that, you'll get something called a conditional receipt. A conditional receipt means that the insurance company takes a pledge to cover you while you are in underwriting. Underwriting can take up to 2 months, sometimes longer, depending on different variables. Things like getting doctor's notes, what's called an APS, or attending physician statement. So we have to get actually your medical records. We have to get sometimes up to 6 years of your medical records. The insurance company has to pay your doctor for that, and no doctor has the same price. I've had situations where their doctor's office was a small town and they had not really gotten insurance requests. So they were like, well, we don't know how much to charge for it. And I was like, charge what the fuck you want. I don't care. Like, the insurance company's paying for it. Right? So, you know, it's funny like that, right? But that's another thing. So people are like, oh, whole life insurance makes the most money, they're scamming you. Term life insurance makes the most money, they're scamming you. VUL, da 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 da. The only way, the most lucrative product for an insurance company is a lapse policy. So when people come and you left and right and you're canceling policies, people are replacing policies, that's a terrible thing. I try not to replace policies unless you have a very bad policy and you were intending on it doing something else, which does happen, right? Sometimes there are cross lines. You don't know how to communicate to the agent what you want. They don't know how to ask the right questions, or they don't ask the right questions, the probing questions, to get the particular information that they need from you. So let's continue. So where was I? Charitable remainder trust. So what's more, the value of the trust assets expected to pass to charity is excluded from estate tax, which might be a major attraction since the estate tax exemption is scheduled to decline in the future with the sunset of a 2017 tax law. Life insurance may serve to make up for IRA funds lost to loved ones because of the charitable remainder trust bequest. So again, he mentions life insurance. And again, this is from Ed Slott. He's a CPA and a tax advisor. He does not sell life insurance. He does not sell annuities. But he understands the tax code and he understands the power of life insurance for strategies like actually passing money down. Oh, I got all this real estate. Oh, I got all this equity. Just take a HELOC. Okay, you can take a loan and not have taxes, but now you have debt. Oh, I'm gonna flip this loan and flip this loan and flip this loan. Now I got $300,000 of assets. No, you have fucking $450,000 worth of liabilities because you got to pay those loans back. So, um, trust tactics. While we're on the subject of trust, remember also that it may not be a good idea to name a trust as beneficiary of a traditional IRA. Under current law, the top 37% tax rate kicks in when the 2024 trust taxable income exceeds only $15,200 and can be taxed at that rate if income is retained in the trust, which may be the case for a discretionary trust that is the IRA beneficiary. It's true that a well-crafted trust could provide control over a large inherited IRA if there are concerns about how a loved one will handle the inheritance. Such control can reduce the risks of a family member or another inheritor overspending, something called the spendthrift clause, right? So you know those guys who, oh, I don't want my wife to run through this money, right? I remember when I first started selling insurance, my first couple years, this might have been like 2011 on the verge of 2012. I had a client, I hadn't even heard of what a VUL was at the time. I had just been in the industry for a year, maybe two. And I had to do a policy review, and the guy had a VUL, variable universal life insurance, and it wasn't performing well because variable universal is a securities product. So it mixes your insurance and investments. So he also wanted to get an additional $250,000 because he was in his 60s and his wife was in her 40s. He said, I want to leave her $25,000 a year for 10 years, but I don't want her to get it all in one lump sum because I don't want her to run through it because she likes to shop. And I'm older and I like the finer things. NC Worker, salute. What's going on, bro? Hold on. Let me highlight some of these comments here. Thank you, Char Willie. NC Worker, what's going on, bro? All right. So there's all sorts of tactics that people will use, and like I said, that's more like a spendthrift clause. So again, if there are concerns about how a loved one will handle the inheritance, such control can reduce the risk of a family member or another inheritor overspending, putting too much overconfidence in a con artist, enduring a costly divorce, etc. Again, the solution here is to convert traditional IRA dollars to the Roth side via a conversion. A Roth IRA makes a better trust beneficiary because distributions from an inherited Roth IRA to the trust will become income tax free, even if the funds are retained in the trust. Roth IRA funds left to a trust remove the trust tax problem for inherited funds that the trust retains. Taking all these steps can result in larger legacies with less or no tax due. Again, we should think maximum, not minimum, and let long term tax planning drive our distribution planning to control tax rates today, tomorrow, and in the years to come. Ed Slott, CPA, is the founder of www.irahelp.com. This article was excerpted from the September 2024 issue of his IRA Advisor newsletter. So, this again is from Ed Slott, CPA. And again, you see he mentioned life insurance quite a few times. Why is this CPA who doesn't sell life insurance mentioning life insurance so many times for being a tax efficient solution? Don't you think it's funny that all these people who are telling you not to buy cash value life insurance because they say, oh, that's something for rich people. But then they tell you to invest like rich people don't invest, and then they point to you, look at all the rich people who got all their money from investing. No, they have their money in investing, just like a bunch of rich people have their money in real estate. But often they didn't make their money from real estate, just like they didn't make their money from investing in stocks, right? But listen, I'm gonna get ready to hop off of this thing. It was nice to be up here with y'all. I've been going for almost a half hour. I don't like to go too long on these things anymore. I come in, I read the article, and then I blast out. So I think that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. Unless hold on, let me see if I can do it. Can I do it? Let me invite somebody. Let me copy this, paste this. If anybody wants to come up, nice. Okay, so nice. So if anybody wants to come up and talk for a few minutes, we can keep it open. We can ask questions. Remember, I had the other article the other day about, business owners hopping out or opting out. No problem, Char Willie. Says I'm going to be watching in an hour. Definitely, man. I'm not going to be going for too long, right? Like I said, I dropped the link. If anybody wants to come up for a few minutes, then I'm a boogie. I think this is valuable. Remember, y'all get the tickets so me and Kay can do our thing in Baltimore. I just came back from Alabama, trying to get things right. Help me, help y'all, help me, help y'all. Right? So I guess I'll get ready to close it down. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, the insurance junkie, your fiduciary fella, the all-star advisor Alonzo Hall, your social media insurance bro. And I just whapped and tapped on your head with another ADH Wealth Solution article. Make sure you hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're made aware every time I release new content. And as always, share, share, share. Lastly, to contribute to channel growth or to schedule an appointment with a licensed financial professional, the links are in the description of this video. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, wipe ass. Work in progress every day and see success. Wipe ass. Work in progress every day and see success. Wipe ass. Work in progress every day and see success. And remember, folks, when people challenge you, they don't challenge you to challenge you, but they challenge you to challenge you. Accept the challenge. Salute.